casually. And there we can see it. The players are off. It's rock and roll time. It's going to be an open Sicilian a6.
We're going to have some fun in this match, that's for sure, because both of these players, they like throwing their G-pawn up the board. We saw in the final round of the Swiss, Alua won with the black pieces against Tatev Abrahamian in a very sharp Sicilian, and here the knight goes to B3, but don't be fooled. This G-pawn, it's going to run forward, and I think, Ivanka, we're in for a treat.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you, what are the chances of seeing G2, G4? What would you put it percentage-wise?
Normally, I would say extremely high when these two players are involved. But with Black's last move, you have to consider D5, and that's exactly what Alua did. She brings her queen out to F3. Normally, we do not like leading with our queen, but it covers the D5 square nicely and allows White to castle. It's here.
It is. It's arrived. G4 and queen to F3. I remember that Nordibek Abdusattorov was playing like this as well. And the Grand Chess Tour, and there we see bishop to b5. And now, how to untangle for Black. How do you get the knight out? Do you just go knight to d7, try to park a knight onto c5, or are you actually parking the knight on c7 with via a6? But knight c6, somehow I wanted a knight on c5. Oh, castle queenside.
Question mark seemed harsh for knight to c6, but I think it's the points you were making. This bishop b5, knight c3, they stopped Black from playing the one big idea that she had. And on the other side, knight c5 is in the air because there's a pin along the d file, and White can shake things up very quickly.
Yeah, and there we see knight a7, promptly exchange off by Nurman, and then, well, is there not pushing time? g5, okay, a4, I like a4. Think about what your opponent wants to do and stop it. And g5. I have a lot of enthusiasm for chess like that, mainly because I forget it myself.
I support you, and I support that notion that Black wanted to play a4, even if it was at the expense of a pawn. Opening up lines is good for rooks. And here, the queen side is closed, and White can step forward on knight d5 at any moment, but she's inviting this capture. Please take me on b3, says Alua, and the reason why is the bishop on e7 is not a good piece. The light square bishop for White, on the other hand, is excellent. So opposite colored bishops would favor White.
Absolutely. I mean, how to untangle with the black pieces? This bishop on e7 is a appalling piece. The rook on a7 is not great either. And there's no breakthrough. There's no squares to jump into, because one of the things about this bishop on e6 is if it's exchanged away, then the square on d5 becomes incredibly vulnerable. Or h4, when in doubt, push the h-pawn, preferably all the way to h6. And from there, it can actually be a very good in-game player.
Okay, well, we see the knight jump into c4. It's given a question mark. It's just trying to gain activity.
I didn't think you could do this because of knight to d5.
I would tend to agree with you. It seems like you're just going to have to walk right back to b6, but wow, we see a trade. This is strategically awful for Black.
Yeah, and the rook... Okay, no. Let's not forget the plan. You want to resolve the king side first. There's no... Rook c8 isn't a big problem.
No, it's a one-move threat, really?
Yeah, it's a one-move threat. Yeah, I was thinking g5. But at first, I wanted to go h5. I think you can see where I was going. Then bishop to g5 worried me a little bit. But g5, nice move.
Just clamping down on the position. That bishop on e7 that we've been highlighting is quite a poor piece. And yes, rook can come to c8. That looks threatening. But the white queen can always just slide back to e2, defending that vulnerable square. So I love the control that White has. I think the time management has been good for both sides. So Ivanka, now it's about turning an aesthetically pleasing position into one with a true advantage, a tangible one. So where does White go from here?
Well, she's spelled it out for us. She just wants to go h5, maybe go h6, or maybe go g6 and open up lines. Okay, rook c8. You've got to cover c2. She does. Players, good handling of the clock. They've got 3 minutes each. But Black's position, passive.
Very, very passive.
d8, h5.
Just go for it.
I cannot help it.
I agree with you. Ooh, she takes a step back, And she could swing this rook along the third rank somewhere if there is a good way to go. But I would already
she's
be
out
considering
threatening.
d5.
She's threatening rook c3.
Oh.
So knight b6. Yeah. Hey, just make sure there's no rook c3 at any times, which kind of h5 played. And now d5. Well, desperate times call for desperate measures. I'm not going to criticize its move, even if it accelerates black's defeat.
I agree with you. Rook takes d5. You're trying to get active. There could even be rook c3 there to be careful about. But g6, that's really what it's all about. Ivanka, you've been clamoring for that for a long time, and now that it's here, it just looks straightforward.
Yeah. Well, it's black to play, so knight takes d5, g6, quick response. Oh, black is just suffering. White is doing a demolition job on the king side. I mean, what can one do? If you take with the f pawn, you allow queen to e6, knight f6, attacking the queen. But now, after the trade of pawns, the king steps out, queen f5. Again, just keeping things simple.
Yes, queen is safe. It was under attack.
Yeah.
e5 was loose. I like this move.
Isn't
e4.
rook c3?
Rook c3.
Rook
Yeah, the queen
c3?
just slides back to b8.
Bishop c4 was my big idea.
Ooh. So you're just trying to go to the diagonal and go after the black king. I respect that idea, and I don't know what to do about it. So, good
Indeed,
call.
it was replayed. Maybe you have to take that bishop off the board. Somehow it feels like you can't survive if you allow a queen onto e6.
So rook c4, rook d5. Take this h5 pawn. All right, black has some hope. It's not completely over, but it is clearly bad.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. It's a Sicilian, right? It's a mess. Anything can still happen.
Wow.
b5.
Yeah, I was looking at rook takes h5, and she's like, no. It's a Sicilian. Ivanka just told me that. She reminded me, have to get active.
Yeah. Well, rook c8. White understands the job as well.
Queen.
Yeah. Queen b7.
Somewhere.
Queen b6.
Yeah. Take this. I think you have to take on b5. I don't imagine allowing ba4 is any good for white.
No. Yeah, she takes a4. Why not?
Coming.
Okay, rook takes b5. Okay,
Ivanka,
just a few.
I'm getting a bad feeling about what's happening for white. Like, yes, white's still better, but something just feels uncomfortable where the black king, looked like it was in harm's way, white won material. Something about this just feels a little bit tricky, but maybe Alua, she's more comfortable than I am in this position. She's also up a minute.
Yeah, she is up a minute. And she does have moves like queen to c7 at her disposal. But even then, I think you're right. This is not necessarily a clean endgame win for white because the pawn on h5 is vulnerable. Then you're suddenly having to play an endgame with a passed pawn on the board. And 44 seconds for Anastasia. The knight comes to d5, queen c4. I love this move. Pin the knight.
I don't really understand what black's going for because once this pawn is captured on a4, there's no attack whatsoever for black. So I think everything's under control on the clock, on the board, and about to be on the scoreboard for white.
Well, here comes the plan. Bishop to f6. But black's king is in so much trouble there on f7. And another pin emerges. Okay, well, all you need to do is go rook to d1. Finally! Both rooks are working.
Took long enough to get that rook into the game.
But it did the necessary, Robert.
Yes. And now it seems very easy how to convert this kind of game.
Yeah, as you point out, rook c5 is coming. Oh, Anastasia. Nothing can save her, but an incredible start for Alua. Winning 5 games in a row. And this game